Hello and welcome to Bounding Into Comics. My name is John Trent. I'm the founder and editor-chief at Bounding Into Comics. And today I got a story about Justice League actor Ray Fisher. Fisher has finally provided some specifics regarding his accusations against director Joss Whedon, as well as a number of Warner Brothers executives, including Geoff Johns, Jon Berg, and Toby Emmerich. Before we get into Fisher's specifics, I'm going to go through how Fisher has kind of been slowly making these accusations from the beginning or from the end of June. So at the end of June, Fisher took to his Instagram where he shared a video of him from San Diego Comic-Con praising Joss Whedon and describing him as a great guy. However, Fisher captioned the video writing, quote, "I'd like to take a moment to forcefully retract every bit of this statement." Then, at the beginning of July, Fisher accused Whedon of, quote, "abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable behavior on the set of Justice League." He would also claim that Whedon was, quote, "enabled in many ways by Geoff Johns and Jon Berg." At the end of July, Fisher would write on Twitter, "I understand full well the personal and professional risks associated with my speaking out against the abhorrent behavior of Joss Whedon and his enablers, Geoff Johns and Jon Berg. I will not relent. This is good trouble, necessary trouble." He would then follow that up with a tweet in August accusing Geoff Johns of threatening his career. Fisher wrote, "During the LA reshoots for Justice League, Geoff Johns summoned me to his office to belittle and admonish my and my agent's attempts to take grievances up the proper chain of command. He then made a thinly veiled threat to my career. This behavior cannot continue." He then went on to applaud Warner Media launching an investigation into his accusations towards the middle of August. He wrote, "After 5 weeks of interviews with various cast crew, Warner Media has officially launched an independent third-party investigation to get to the heart of the toxic and abusive work environment created during Justice League reshoots. This is a massive step forward." In a subsequent tweet, he added, "I believe this investigation will show that Geoff Johns, Joss Whedon, Jon Berg, and others grossly abused their power during the uncertainty of AT&T's merger with Time Warner. Thank you, Warner Media and AT&T, for making strides to ensure a safer workplace for all." Then on September 4th, Fisher wrote, "So you can better understand how deep this goes. After speaking out about Justice League, I received a phone call from the president of DC Films, wherein he attempted to throw Joss Whedon and Jon Berg under the bus in hopes that I would relent on Geoff Johns. I will not." Warner Media would then release a statement through a spokesperson in response to Fisher's accusations. That statement read, "In July, Ray Fisher's representatives asked DC Films president Walter Hamada to talk to Mr. Fisher about his concerns during the production of Justice League. The two had previously spoken when Mr. Hamada asked him to reprise his role as Cyborg in Warner Brothers' upcoming Flash movie, together with other members of the Justice League. In their July conversation, Mr. Fisher recounted disagreements he'd had with the film's creative team regarding his portrayal of Cyborg and complained that his suggested script revisions were not adopted. Mr. Hamada explained that creative differences are a normal part of the production process and that a film's writer-director ultimately has to be in charge of these matters. Notably, Mr. Hamada also told Mr. Fisher that he would elevate his concerns to Warner Media so they could conduct an investigation. At no time did Mr. Hamada ever, quote, throw anyone under the bus, as Mr. Fisher has falsely claimed, or render any judgments about the Justice League production, in which Mr. Hamada had no involvement since filming occurred before Mr. Hamada was elevated to his current position. While Mr. Fisher never alleged any actionable misconduct against him, Warner Media nonetheless initiated an investigation into the concerns he'd raised about his character's portrayal. Still not satisfied, Mr. Fisher insisted that Warner Media hire an independent third-party investigator. The statement concluded, "This investigator has attempted multiple times to meet with Mr. Fisher to discuss his concerns, but to date, Mr. Fisher has declined to speak to the investigator. Warner Brothers remains committed to accountability and to the well-being of every cast and crew member on each of its productions. It also remains committed to investigating any specific and credible allegation of misconduct, which thus far Mr. Fisher has failed to provide." So Ray Fisher would respond to this statement on Twitter. He wrote, Thank you all for the support and for seeing through WB Pictures' desperate and scattershot attempt to discredit me to continue protecting those in power. I met with the investigator via Zoom on August 26th. Below is an email I sent to my team and SAG-AFTRA immediately after. The email reads, quote, just got off the line with the investigator, had to end the interview early before going into detail with him. He's definitely been put on the case by Warner Brothers Pictures, not Warner Media. His findings will go directly and solely to Warner Brothers Pictures Legal. He also had another person on the line as a witness, which we weren't made aware of. I told him I needed to have a rep on the line as security for myself. He tried to keep me on the line, but I told him I would need to consult my team before proceeding. Can we jump on a call, discuss soon? Fisher followed that up with another tweet where he wrote, it's also worth noting that I made it clear to the world on August 21st that I would be vetting the investigator to ensure a fair and protected process for all witnesses. WB Pictures has escalated this to an entirely different level, but I'm ready to meet the challenge. In that tweet, he includes a video of him discussing the investigation. More recently, in the middle of October, Fisher would write on Twitter, what complicates the situation with Joss Whedon and Geoff Johns is that appropriate action wasn't taken with them in real time. As a result, they were allowed to spread to WB Pictures' sister companies. It's a tricky knot, but we will untie it. So that kind of gets us caught up to what happened today. In an interview with Forbes, Fisher provided specifics regarding his accusations against Whedon. He stated the erasure of people of color from the 2017 theatrical version of Justice League was neither an accident nor coincidence. He then claimed that Whedon changed an actor of color's skin tone in post-production. Fisher stated, what set my soul on fire and forced me to speak out about Joss Whedon this summer was my becoming informed that Joss had ordered that the complexion of an actor of color be changed in post-production because he didn't like the color of their skin tone. Man, with everything 2020 has been, that was the tipping point for me. Fisher would also claim that Johns and Berg, along with Warner Brothers Picture Group Chairman Toby Emmerich, participated in racist conversations. He stated, quote, prior to Justice League's reshoot process, blatantly racist conversations were had and entertained on multiple occasions by former and current top-level executives at Warner Brothers Pictures. Decision makers that participated in those racist conversations were Geoff Johns, Jon Berg, and current Warner Brothers Pictures Group Chairman Toby Emmerich. Fisher then added, a lot of what these guys were doing was in an effort to prevent themselves from being fired during AT&T's merger with Time Warner. Fisher went on to promise that he would provide more details after the investigation is completed. I plan on getting much more specific about each of these guys after the investigation is over. This interview is just the abridged version, referring to the interview he's doing with Forbes right now. As for the alleged racist conversations, Fisher claims he was only made aware of them after he spoke out against Joss Whedon. The actor explained, these conversations were reported to me by people in the room and I wasn't made aware until after I had already spoken about Joss Whedon. He claims Warner Brothers HR is aware of all the claims he is making. He says, none of what I'm sharing in this interview is news to Warner Brothers HR, nor should it be news to Warner Media. I reported almost everything to them back in July, including Emmerich's involvement. The fact that I'm having to advocate for myself in this way is equal parts freeing and frustrating, Fisher added. He then goes on to claim that the reduction in outright cutting of a number of actors' role in the film was due to their race. So he said, I always suspected that race was a determining factor for the way things went down, but it wasn't until this past summer that I was able to prove it. He went on to state that it wasn't just about race. Race was just one of the issues with the reshoot process. There were massive blow-ups, threats, coercion, taunting, unsafe work conditions, belittling, and gaslighting like you wouldn't believe. He doesn't provide any details on those accusations. He would, though, go on to double down on his accusations against Johns threatening his career. He said, Geoff Johns made a veiled threat to my career during the LA reshoots of Justice League. Multiple sources have informed me that Joss threatened the career of another person associated with the production. Toby was made aware and tried to cover for Whedon rather than deal with the abuse. That situation had to be escalated to Sujihara to get any results. He then goes on to state his claims are legitimate and real. These things affected many people across various departments. Warner Brother Pictures has tried to make it seem as if these issues are mine and mine alone. I've brought them a number of witnesses that have been avoided and in some cases ghosted during the investigation process. Warner Brothers knows full well my claims are credible. They're just scrambling. Fisher would also further react to Warner Brothers Pictures' statement that I discussed earlier. He told Forbes, "The hit piece that Warner Brothers Picture put out on me on September 4th was meant to isolate me, but it ended up having the opposite effect. More people ended up reaching out and offering their support." He also elaborated on his claims that Walter Hamada attempted to throw Whedon and Berg under the bus to protect Johns. He said, "Walter Hamada chose to insert himself into this situation by trying to throw Joss Whedon and Jon Berg under the bus to protect Geoff Johns. He has a long-standing work relationship with Johns and an even longer one with Toby from their time together at New Line. Emmerich made Hamada the president of DC Films, and Johns is providing content for Hamada to produce. It stands to reason that he would have a vested interest in trying to protect both of them." Fisher went on to claim that the statement would have been a lot worse if Fisher had named Emmerich. He says, "You see what Warner Brothers PR tried to do to me after I alluded to Walter Hamada? Now imagine what would have happened if I named the chairman of the company instead of Hamada. WB would have used every bit of PR power they had to try to stop me out and protect Emmerich." Fisher then would go on to provide an update on the investigation. He claims the original third party that was brought in to investigate is no longer working on the case. He says, "My team and I have been informed that the third-party firm that was originally brought on to investigate Justice League has withdrawn from the case. Warner Media has since informed me and my team that the old investigator purposely lied to us about the investigation. We've asked Warner Media to relay this information to the public and to retract Warner Brothers' September 4th hit piece on me so we can clear the air and get the investigation back on track. They've refused to do so, so here we are. The new investigator that Warner Media has brought on is the same one that did the final Kevin Sujihara investigation before he was taken down," Fisher added. He then went on to detail that the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, SAG-AFTRA, is supporting him. SAG-AFTRA has been a part of just about every conversation we've had with Warner Media and has been pushing to get them to do the right thing. He then stated, "In a business as notoriously litigious as Hollywood, the fact that I haven't received so much as a cease and desist letter should tell you something. The people involved know I'm telling the truth. They're just looking for a way to mitigate blowback for themselves. Warner Media knows I don't have the financial ability to stand up to them in court. Emmerich, Whedon, and the other guys probably do. My guess is that Warner Media is looking for the lesser of two lawsuits," Fisher added. He would then comment about those who are skeptical of his claims. He said, "You really have to ask yourself what's more plausible, that I would purposely torpedo my career by making statements about powerful figures in Hollywood that, if untrue, could be easily refuted, or a handful of people in positions of power said and did terrible things in order to maintain that power during a massive corporate merger." He then detailed what his goal is. "My goal is to have these people not be decision makers for the content that influences our world. These guys have been in Hollywood a long time. Their problematic behavior didn't start with the AT&T merger, but I'll be damned if it doesn't end with it." He then claims he's not worried about any consequences, saying, "I'm not worried about the consequences. I'm well aware of what's at stake. If people don't want to work with me because I'm refusing to tolerate abusive behavior and the cover-up culture of old Hollywood, then so be it." He then concluded the interview saying, "If nothing else, I'm going to go out of this business the way I came in, free and of my own volition." Can you dig that? So there's a lot to take in here. It's almost like he said, she said kind of situation right now on who you believe. I don't know if I can really make a really good opinion on this because I feel like we don't have I don't feel like I have enough information to really to make a decision on who I believe or not here. I would like to see a little bit more of that information come to light. Fisher says he's going to do that, so we'll see if that happens. But I really don't think I can make an opinion on this. I just want to provide this information to you guys and see what you think about it. But I really don't think that there's enough information here to really determine what is actually going on here. Whether or not Fisher's claims are true or not, whether Warner Brothers claims are true or not. I just don't think we really have enough information to really come to a conclusive decision on whether one party is in the right or not. But I just wanted to bring this information to you guys, let you know about it, and ask you what you think of it, and whether or not you believe these new accusations about Joss Whedon, Geoff Johns, Jon Berg, and Toby Emmerich. Let me know what you think in the comments below. My name is John Trent, and you've been watching Bounding into Comics. I'll have another video for you tomorrow.